This week we read Parshas Naso. We're reading Naso in Eretz Yisrael. We're reading a different parsha. Again, we're out of whack. The third year in a row. 2 years we had a problem with Pesach. Now we had not a problem. The 2 years we had the last day of Pesach came on Shabbos. This year the second day of Shavuos came on Shabbos. And again for the next few weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, will be until Chukas Balak, until we get back in sync with Eretz Yisrael. But we read Parshas Naso. One of the topics in Parshas Naso is the Nazir, and the Haftarah also talks about the Nazir. The famous Haftarah with the birth of Shimshon starts with the promise of the Malach who came to speak to Manoach's wife. What did he tell her? The Malach comes to Manoach's wife in Pasuk Gimel, Vayeru Malach Hashem Isha, and the Malach appeared to the woman, you are an Akara, you're a barren woman, and you don't have children. Asks the great Gaon of Chaim Kanievsky in his Sefer Time of the Crow. He asks, why did the Malach repeat himself twice? You're a barren woman and you don't have children. Of course, if she's an Akara, if she's a barren woman, she doesn't have children. It's the same thing. Why did you repeat it twice? Chaim Kanievsky says, and perhaps we can understand with the approach of Chaim Kanievsky, why did the Malach come to her and not to him? Why didn't he come to the husband? Chaim Kanievsky says, a great Yisoid in Shalom Bayis, in Befrat, and in peace among people, between person and person, between man and man, ben adam l'chaverei. Whenever two people are arguing, there's two ways to stop the argument. One way is when one of them brings enough proof to prove that he's right. I'll prove to you that I'm right. I'll prove to you from here. I'll prove to you from there. You see, I have to be right. I'll prove to you I'm right. It's very ineffective. That approach is very ineffective. The other person never really accepts it. What do you mean you prove it? I have also proofs that I'm right. We always love to justify our position against another position. The only way to really quickly and effectively stop an argument is when one of them comes to the other and says, I'll prove to you that you're right. I'm wrong. I looked at the situation. I realized I'm wrong. That's it. The conflict is over. The argument is over. There's no continuation to the argument. Says Rav Chaim Kanievsky, the Malach came to the woman. He had two things he wanted to accomplish, two goals. First of all, he wanted to promise him that they should have a child. That was one goal. He also wanted to bring back Shalom Bayis. The Medrash says that they were arguing. Manoach said, it's your fault that we don't have children. You're the one that's at fault. And she said, no, you're the one. I'm healthy. It's you. It's because of you that we don't have children. And they would argue about it. This state in Medrash. Says Rav Chaim Kanievsky, the Malach came and said, Atakara. First of all, you should know you're the one. It was your fault. It was because of you. Your husband is healthy. It was because of you. No problem. Don't worry about it. Just go to your husband and tell him it was my fault. But with good news, the Malach came and told us we're going to have a son. So the Malach accomplished both goals. He restored peace in the home. He restored Shalom Bayis. And also he promised them a child. What could be better? If he would have come to the husband, if he would have come to Manoach and he would have said, you know what? You're right. You're right. She was the one that was wrong. But you'll have a child. He'll come home and he'll say, the Malach came to me and said, we're going to have a child. You should know you were wrong. The whole time the Malach told me I was right. And then again there would be fights and there would be conflict in the home. The Malach didn't want that to happen. So the Malach came to her. The Malach came to Manoach's wife and said, Atakora. First of all, you should know it was your fault. Stop the arguing. No more problems of Shalom Bayis. And also you can have a child, you can have a bracha. May we all learn the lesson from the Heilige Rav Chaim Kanievsky and from the Nevi'im, from the Malach that came to Manoach. We should always try and find a point in the conflict. Whenever Chas v'Shalom we have conflict in our home, we have arguments in our home, we should always try not justify our own opinion. Try and see the other person's point of view. You know what? I think you're right. I think you might be right. How quickly the conflict ends, how quickly the disappointment and the bad feeling that comes from the arguing that comes out in our homes, and then we'll have Shalom Bayis, and we'll also be Zeicha to all the brachas of the Malach, and all the brachas of all the Malachim, and the brachas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which come in a home where peace reigns and we have Shalom Bayis. This has been a short thought on the Haftarah of Parshas Naso. Good Shabbos.